Today, we're going to talk about something we all use every single second, but almost never think about: the electric grid. And we're going to look at it through the lens of the book Blackout Warfare, which, let me tell you, lays out a pretty stark warning about just how fragile that system really is. So, let's get into it.
I want you to just stop and really think about this for a second. What if the power went out and it didn't come back on? No lights, no phone, no internet, no running water, no ATMs, no gas pumps. Nothing. Not for a few hours or even a few days, but for a whole year. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? Well, the whole point of this book is that it's a terrifyingly real possibility.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. This quote, it's from someone who was actually there after Hurricane Andrew hit in 1992. When the grid went down, everything else started to crumble, almost instantly. It gave them a little taste, a terrifying preview of what a world without power would really feel like.
Okay, so before we can really understand the threat, we have to understand the target. And we're talking about America's electric lifeline, the system that, for all intents and purposes, is modern life.
You know, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around just how massive the grid is. It's been called the largest machine ever built, and it's not a luxury. The book makes it crystal clear. This thing is our civilization's life support system, period.
And here's the really crucial point. Everything depends on it. I mean everything. Your phone network, dead without it. The pumps that bring clean water to your house, they stop. The refrigerators keeping our food and medicine safe, useless. Traffic lights, banks, 911, even the US military operating here at home. If the grid goes down, they all go down with it.
The scary thing is, we don't really have to use our imaginations to know what a massive blackout looks like. History has already given us some absolutely chilling examples. Just look at the 1998 ice storm in Quebec. Now, it wasn't the ice itself that caused the deep crisis. It was the blackout from the ice. And you can see how fast it all falls apart. Day 4, the water plants fail. Day 5, food is spoiling. And then day 6, wow, hospital generators gave out and nurses had to physically stand there manually pumping air into patients' lungs to keep them alive. It's just a total systemic collapse with ripple effects that lasted for months.
And it was the exact same story with Hurricane Andrew. No electricity means no water pumps. No electricity means the entire food supply chain grinds to a halt. No electricity means every single intersection becomes pure chaos which paralyzes everything.
And that brings us to the next inevitable stage of the breakdown: social order. This quote from a mayor in Louisiana just says it all, doesn't it? It's so blunt and so chilling. When the lights go out, the basic rules of society can go out with them. Now, natural disasters are one thing. They're bad enough, but the real focus of this book is on something far more sinister. We're talking about the deliberate, hostile targeting of the grid. In other words, blackout warfare. The book basically breaks the threats down into 3 main categories. You've got attacks from cyberspace, you've got direct physical attacks on the hardware, and then you've got the most devastating of them all, a high-altitude electromagnetic pulse, or HEMP.
Cyberattacks are not theoretical anymore. This isn't science fiction. In 2015, hackers proved it could be done. They got into Ukraine's power grid and literally with just a few clicks of a mouse started shutting down power stations, plunging hundreds of thousands of people into a freezing winter darkness.
Then you've got good old-fashioned physical sabotage. What you're looking at here is a critical power substation, one of the vital organs of the grid. And according to the book, you know what's protecting many of these incredibly important places? A chain link fence. That's it. It makes them shockingly easy targets for a pretty low-tech attack.
And finally, we have the hemp threat. This is the big one, the ultimate blackout weapon. You take one nuclear bomb, you detonate it way, way up in the atmosphere. There's no mushroom cloud on the ground. Instead, it creates this invisible, super powerful wave of energy, an electromagnetic pulse that just fries electronics across an entire continent. It would basically send a country back to the 1800s in the blink of an eye.
So, what would actually happen if one of these attacks took out the entire national grid? This is where the book's analysis goes from alarming to just, well, unthinkable.
This right here, this is probably the single most terrifying conclusion from the entire book. And it's not from the authors, it's from an official US Congressional Commission. Just let that number sink in. 9 out of 10 Americans gone. Not from a blast, but from starvation, disease, and the complete collapse of society after a year without power.
And this chart really shows you how fast it all happens. It's a domino effect on a civilization-wide scale. Power goes out instantly. Within just a few hours, communications and water systems are gone. Within days, transportation stops. That means no food in the stores, no medicine in the pharmacies. The book says that in as little as 72 hours, basically all the systems that keep us alive would fail.
Okay, after laying out this truly existential threat, the book doesn't just leave us there in the dark. It actually argues that there is a path forward, that we can secure this vital infrastructure.
And you know, according to the book, the core of the problem isn't even technology. The authors argue that we have the tech to shield against these threats. The real failure, they say, is a failure of will. It's bureaucratic inertia and political gridlock.
So what's the game plan? Well, the book calls for a few specific actions. Let the military help protect the civilian grids that its own bases depend on. Build more self-sufficient microgrids. And maybe most importantly, it calls for a bottom-up approach where regular citizens and local governments start demanding that our leaders finally do their most fundamental job, provide for the common defense.
In the end, blackout warfare really leaves us with this one huge question. We've built our entire world, everything we do, everything we are, on top of this one single, incredibly complex machine. It's given us everything. But have we built it to last? And what are we going to do if it breaks?